As if we didn't have enough diseases to be worried about catching. Now we have to be worried about our dogs catching the dog flu? What even is that? Let's get into it. Welcome back to Alpha Paw, your destination for everything dog. I'm Bernie Zilio, and I'm on a mission to answer every doggone question you have ever had about your fur babies. And today we are talking about the dog flu. Fortunately, we have an expert with us today, Dr. Ross Bernstein. Dr. Ross is a seasoned veterinary professional and pet care expert. He earned his doctorate degree in veterinary medicine at UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine, and his work has been featured in several industry-leading publications, including the Journal of Veterinary Surgery. He is our go-to vet for everything we want and need to know about our fur babies. So welcome back to Alpha Pod, Dr. Ross.
Hey, Bernie. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Now, I love having you on this show, Dr. Ross, but I feel like every time we talk, I learn something new and scary that can happen to dogs. And I feel like I need to just wrap up my dog pod in bubble wrap and never let him touch the floor again. So can you just tell me what the heck dog flu is? Because I've never heard of this until today.
Well, you don't need to wrap him up, and I'm glad you're learning stuff each time we talk. But no, there's just some. I mean, you're talking to me, a veterinarian, and you're just asking what things can go wrong or what things do go wrong. So, just sharing some of my experience and knowledge. So, you don't need to wrap him up in a bubble. But yeah, we can get into dog flu or the canine influenza virus. It's so just like people, they can get the flu or the influenza virus. Dogs, it's a similar type of virus, an influenza virus, but it is species specific. So it's not going to be transferred from people to dogs and vice versa. Or I guess theoretically, just like COVID, theoretically it might be possible, but it's super, super rare, almost to that point where it's unheard of. But basically the signs that you would see in your dog are respiratory symptoms. So coughing, sneezing, nasal discharge, ocular discharge, maybe some lethargy, maybe a fever. But yeah, coughing and potentially even a productive cough would be some of the more common clinical signs that you would see.
Oh, our little babies. It's basically like the same kind of symptoms that we would have with the flu. I would assume it's what it sounds like. Now, I know how humans can contract the flu. Is it similar for dogs? How do they contract it?
It is similar in that it's contagious between dogs. So it would be transmitted in a similar way. For dogs, it's more of like a nose-to-nose contact.
I was hoping you would say that just because I love to picture it, like two dogs putting their snoots together.
Yeah. Which happens a lot at dog parks, boarding facilities, groomers, hopefully not at your vet's office. Something recently that I've seen in my clinic is dogs that go for competitions. So like agility contests, racing, conformation shows, stuff like that. Just where there's a big group of dogs where potentially if there's something infectious, then there's more chance that they'll come into contact with dogs that they don't know or that are unvaccinated. Stuff like that.
Okay, so once again, as a pet parent, I am terrified. Can I let my dog go to the PARK? I mean, obviously, I think there's a fine line, which is what I am learning on this show, that there is a fine line between keeping your dog healthy and safe and then also letting them be happy and be a normal dog. So you went over some of the symptoms, which I think is super important. It's kind of similar to humans, but the coughing, the discharge from the nose, sneezing, things of that sort can be signs that your dog has dog flu. Now, let's say I see those signs. They're kind of continuously over a few days. I take the dog to the vet. The vet says your dog has dog flu. What is done then? How does my dog get treated?
At first, your vet might go over some diagnostics to try to figure out what's wrong, because not every time your dog is coughing, it's going to be dog flu. So they'll have to rule out some other causes of other possibilities that it can be. If it's an older dog, something that always comes to mind is something like cancer. So that is potentially something that we would have to rule out. That's just an example. I didn't mean to put a sad note on this.
I was like, oh God, that took a turn.
But in terms of treatment, you'd want the treatment usually consists of supportive care. So if they need fluids, we could give them fluids. The flu is a viral infection, but sometimes when you get viral infections in the lungs, you can get secondary bacterial infection. So sometimes antibiotics can be helpful. Sometimes nebulization and coupage, which is like breathing in steamed air and patting your dog on the ribs, can be helpful. So it's usually consisting of supportive care and then quarantine. So don't let your dog go out to parks and grooming facilities and other places where there's lots of other dogs.
That word will forever give me PTSD. Like, we need to come up with a new word for keeping our dogs away from areas where there could be other dogs in case they're sick, because I can't with the Q word anymore. Like, we have maxed out on that usage.
Yeah, I actually, people don't really say quarantine for dogs. So it was just the first word that came to my mind because it's everything that we're doing right now. But yeah, just avoid places where there's tons of other dogs.
You're just basically answering, you're like reading my head, because that's the next question was, how can we like prevent our dogs from getting these things? I guess keeping them away from high traffic areas is what you're saying?
Yeah. There is a vaccine for it as well, that it doesn't always completely prevent the onset of canine influenza virus, but it can definitely reduce the symptoms or clinical signs and reduce the severity of the disease. So vaccination is one. And then again, like you said, avoiding those high traffic areas. I do want to add this: if your dog does get diagnosed with canine influenza virus, it's typically not a fatal disease. So that's a good thing.
You answered my question. Look at us on the same page today. Oh my gosh, I love it. I was actually going to ask if this was like something that I should be super concerned about. What's the fatality rate? I mean, if you tell me there's really no cure and all we can do is just keep the dog comfortable, that's like a little scary for a pet parent. But what you're saying is we shouldn't be losing sleep over this?
Well, yeah, you want your dog to be comfortable, but typically it's something that will get better with some supportive care that can improve the process, but usually they would get better eventually on their own. Sometimes some vets prescribe antivirals, but that's a bit debated amongst the veterinary community. But yeah, it's a treatment general supportive care, and it's typically not a fatal disease. So that's good.
Wonderful. That is what we love to hear around here. But truthfully speaking, I really had no idea that there was a flu vaccine option for dogs. So I'm definitely going to be talking to my vet about that. So thank you for that, Dr. Ross. Thank you for all of the knowledge bombs. We are so grateful to have you. If you guys, our viewers, have any more questions, please feel free to drop them down in the comment section down below. Again, I'm Bernie Zilio, and this is Alpha Paw. Be sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single doggone episode, and we'll see you guys next time.